Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are here with us today, this is the elementary school breakout session for the executive functioning skills presentation. So we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll go through some of the specified executive functioning skills that are probably most applicable to our elementary grade level students, okay? So I'll start with myself. I'm Lindsay Corbett. I am housed over at Franklin Elementary School. I am the learning consultant here, and I work very closely with our students who have IEPs.
And I am Erica Dorsey. I am the school counselor at Brayton Elementary School and Lincoln Hubbard Elementary School. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning.
So today's agenda, we're going to start off by discussing some of the most significant executive functioning areas for our elementary age students. Erica had mentioned 11 of these skills. We're going to go over 4 of them that we really feel are applicable to our students at this grade level. We also hope to provide you easy and manageable strategies and activities for each one of these areas. And then at the end of the presentation, we will have a question and answer session for you as well.
Okay, so the table of contents for today, the first skill that we're going to talk about is organization skills. Then we're going to move into time management, followed by response inhibition, and then emotional control.
Okay, so first off, I want you to put yourself in your student's position for a moment and imagine that you do.
Affidavit regarding the survey. Okay.
I can just ask everyone to mute themselves just to avoid any background noise. That would be helpful. So once again, I do want you to put yourself in your student's position right now. Imagine that you're in school and your teacher had just given you a problem similar to the one that's on the screen. So it's called the cookie problem. I'll read it to you, and then we'll talk about some of the skills that would be necessary in really being able to process and handle this kind of problem when given in school. So Rachel, Linda, and Eve were friends sitting in a circle on the grass. Rachel passed 3 chocolate chip cookies to the person in blue. Eve passed 3 macaroons to the person who passed her cookies to the person.
The real property tax and mortgage field. Correction.
Each person passed 3 cookies to the friend on her left. Rachel, Linda, and Eve were dressed in red, blue, and green, but not necessarily in that order. The person who was wearing green did not get a macaroon. The person wearing red passed along 3 oatmeal cookies. Who wore which color? Now, I'll leave the solving to you for another time, but I do want you to think about your initial reaction after seeing that problem, after hearing me read it to you, and what your student may or how they may react when given something like that in school.
Actually, this is a correction agreement.
Everybody makes mistakes, right?
I am hearing a little background noise. Again, if you're able to mute, that would be great. Thank you.
We muted.
So what skills are needed to solve this problem? The first skill that I'd like to touch on is response inhibition. And Dr. Lee had mentioned this in her original presentation. And really, this is the ability to control your behavior as soon as you're given something like this. So if a student was to receive this problem in school, they may feel immediately overwhelmed. They may shut down. So really being able to respond appropriately, being able to respond and have coping strategies is something that we're going to talk about. Additionally, that's also going to trickle into emotional control. How are they going to react emotionally when given a problem like that? How will they organize themselves to start to solve the problem? And then finally, what kind of time management skills will they use and able to complete this in a timely manner?
So organization skills, we're going to talk about why they're important. So when students have difficulties staying organized, they can struggle with handling information in effective ways. They may have difficulty setting priorities, making plans, sticking or staying on task, and actually getting things done. Developing these skills at a young age is crucial because as students move through different grade levels, the need to possess these skills become much greater.
Okay, so what it looks like. Really being able to maintain materials at home and at school. At school currently, they're really pretty much in their book bag. At home, it is helpful to have maybe a specific area to keep school supplies. Keeping a clean workspace, so not getting other things mixed in with their work materials. And then of course, keeping a clean backpack so they're able to go into their backpack and really find what they need at that time. So some things that we can use to achieve this organization. Color-coded files are great for elementary grade level students. Folders, notebooks, or dividers that have specific labels. And then really keeping an updated checklist, calendar.
Some of the strategies that we can use for organization skills are to assemble supply kits for specific subjects. So when students are learning at home, whatever it is that they're going to need for specific subjects, have those kits ready for them. So for example, if they're taking art at home in the afternoon, you want to have an art kit for them with all of the supplies that they need, their pencil, their markers, their crayons, their paper in one area. That way they can just go and grab it. Because a lot of times when students have to leave to go and get things, it kind of throws them off and they have a hard time kind of getting back into the rhythm of what's happening in the classroom. Make cleaning a family affair. So modeling for the students kind of organization skills. Family tidy time. If they see that everyone in the household is kind of being organized and taking pride in that, it's going to make them more likely to want to kind of do it as well. Create a structured daily routine. Kids love structure. So if we can give them kind of a structured routine of they know kind of what the day is going to look like, they are going to be able to function a lot better than if they don't know what's going on, then the transitions are going to be a lot harder for them. Strategies, some more strategies are have a designated space location for items using labels or color-coded bins. So again, just kind of like those supply kits, if the students know where everything is supposed to go, it makes it easier for them to stay organized. They know that, okay, my shoes are supposed to go in this area, my coat is supposed to go here when I come home. That way things are not all over the place and it's not hard for them to find their items when they need them. And then lastly, use what works. So you have to kind of speak with your child and kind of communicate with them about what is going to work for them. If you know that binders are not going to work for them, then maybe folders or maybe file systems might be better. So kind of having that communication with them about what works.
Okay, so now we want to go ahead and show you a quick little video that's going to go over some organizational tips and tricks. And this is actually a great video too, if you wanted to watch it with your students.
Don't worry about the top one. Oh, this is like literally a video class.
Sorry about that. Let me just get to the next slide here. Or actually, we'll go over some of the strategies that were mentioned in that video. So they definitely mentioned the front door space. So I think really having that visual reminder for our students what is needed as soon as they, are leaving the house. That color coding, again, a lot of our students are visual learners. That color coding is especially beneficial for them. And then really using technology to our advantage. I know this may be somewhat technology fatigue, but there are definitely a lot of different apps out there that can help our students, and then can help us as parents too. So some things to take away from that.
There's a lot of background noise, and I'm not sure if everybody's going to be able to hear me. If you have not muted already, could you please do so? Thank you. Time management, why it's important. So good time management skills help students to prioritize tasks so they are able to complete schoolwork and assignments on time. Students are able to plan ahead, set aside the time they need for projects and assignments, and still have time for fun once they develop their time management skills. It's important to mention that time management cannot come before organization skills. So a student has to work on their organization skills first before they'll be able to have good time management skills. And it's going to take some time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. So you really want to get those skills in before you move on to this set of skills.
So some time management tips. So again, I'm going to show you another video, and this is going to go through some strategies that are helpful to our students.
Which superhero comes to mind when I say time management? Is it Ant-Man? Maybe the Green Arrow? Let's find out. Hey there, I'm Jessica from Learning with Jessica Diaz. So before we can decide which superhero has the best potential for great time management, let's talk about what time management is and how we can be better at it. Time management is planning how much time you spend on certain things. It basically boils down to spending your time well. Wondering how you can manage your time more effectively? Just keep these 3 things in mind. Number 1, learn to prioritize. Prioritizing means that you can figure out what's most important and do that first. So let's say that you need to clean your room and do your homework, but you also really want to play Luigi's Mansion 3. Well, if you're prioritizing, you'll do the most important task first, followed by the task that's next in line at being the most important. And that you can save time for fun stuff once you're done. So if I were prioritizing these 3 things, I would do my homework, then clean my room, and then play Luigi's Mansion 3. Number 2, make a to-do list. A to-do list is just a list of things that need to get done. Now, if you're new to making to-do lists, it can be helpful to ask an adult for help, but it basically looks like this. Let's say that I have homework, chores, taekwondo practice, a test coming up on Friday, and a piano recital on Saturday. That's a lot to keep track of, and I'm worried that I might forget something, so I write it all down. The homework, putting my shoes and backpack away, the cleaning my room, taekwondo practice, my test on Friday, and my piano recital on Saturday. Number 3, learn how to make a schedule. A schedule is just a plan for when you're going to do things. So if you know that you're going to have a test on Friday and a piano recital on Saturday, you might plan to set aside 20 minutes each night to study for your test and to practice playing the piano. If you write your schedule down, it might look a little something like this. Okay, now you're ready, right? You're ready to know which superhero has the best potential for time management. It's the Flash. Duh, right? Can't you imagine having that super speed, how quickly you get things done? Homework, 2 seconds, done. Chores, 3 seconds, done. All right, so remember to prioritize, make a to-do list, and schedule your time. That's all for now. See you next time.
Okay.
And it's important to mention that for those of you that have smaller children, instead of writing out a to-do list, maybe have them draw pictures of the things that they need to do and kind of rank them in order of what is the most important or what is due first. What is the first thing that we have to do? And then helping them to kind of see that we still have time for fun things, but we have to get these things done first because they're the most important things that we have to do right now.
Exactly. And Erica, I'm just going to jump on that too. Whether it's visual or a written to-do list, when students are able to see what they need to accomplish, it's a little bit easier for them to manage and feel successful. They're able to cross things off the list as well and feel accomplished.
Which superhero comes?
So some activities to teach prioritization. Practice prioritizing by planning simple tasks. How to make a bed, how to build a snowman. With all of the snow that we've been getting, this is a really great one for the younger kids. How to make cookies. So all of these things have certain steps that have to come in a certain order. So with baking the cookies, you can't put the cookies in the oven before you turn it on. So going through all of these steps with the students to kind of show them that there are higher priority things and low priority things, and some of these things have to be done at a certain time in order for our result to come out the way that we want it to come out. Number 2, discuss the most important steps in the task. 3 is to make a to-do list to help children plan and prioritize. So just like we talked about in the last slide, making that to-do list, but for younger students, it could be with pictures. Have them draw all of the things that they have to do, and then you can kind of help them rank them in order. Then have the students rank the tasks in order of importance. Make lists of assignment due dates and either rank or highlight tasks that need to be completed first. And then create a calendar or a schedule. I know that a lot of students kind of have calendars and schedules at home. This is a really great thing to kind of help them remember the things that they have to get done and when they have to do them. I noticed that when we have big transitions or when we are not aware of what we have to do, students have a very hard time kind of getting things done because they're not aware that they have to do this, or it kind of creeps up on them. So seeing it in like big pictures or in big words will help them kind of remember those tasks they have to get done.
So for some strategies for time management, using timers to help children practice measuring time. Sometimes they may have a false perception on how long it takes them to do something, so they may try to avoid it. So allowing them to see, oh, my homework really only takes me 15 minutes rather than, this very prolonged time in my head. Using kid-friendly time management tools, certain apps, visual schedules, and then making time management fun. So being able to go through and make that visual schedule together, referring to superheroes and watching videos that they're able to connect with and relate to.
Response inhibition. What is it? When the ability to self-regulate is compromised, a student's behavior can't be modified with future consequences in mind. So again, just like Dr. Lee mentioned with response inhibition, it's really about kind of how a student responds to a task or things that they have to get done.
So again, what it looks like, especially at the elementary level, being able to think before you act and not just reacting automatically, controlling the urge to maybe shout out or shut down, and evaluating a situation again before responding in this way. When we often see response inhibition in the elementary level is when a task is assigned, whether it's a lengthy task, a task that a student feels like they're not going to be able to be successful at, peer relations, a non-preferred activity, and then a transition from one thing to another.
Before I get to the strategies, I do want to make sure that I mention that with response inhibition, it is very closely tied to emotions. And it's always okay for a student to have a feeling about something. So if they're frustrated with the work that they're doing, if they're frustrated with the fact that they have to learn online right now, that's okay. It's a frustrating situation for them. So it's always important to validate the feeling, but set limits on the behavior. So if their behavior is not appropriate, saying to them, I understand that you're really frustrated right now. And if this was happening to me, I probably would be really frustrated as well. But the way we're handling our frustration is not appropriate. Let's think of some ways together of how we can handle our frustration differently next time. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that because I think it's really important to know that feelings are okay, but sometimes the behaviors are not the appropriate ones. Some of the strategies for response inhibition are to set explicit expectations for your child. So letting them know what is expected of them, and also kind of what happens when we don't have those expectations, what could go wrong, what could come from it. Being prepared, so kind of helping them to kind of know what's coming, so they're prepared of the task they have to do or the situation at hand. Implement a motivation system. So find out some things that they really like. And a lot of times when we talk about this, we think that we have to go out and buy them something. It could be things that they enjoy doing, activities that they enjoy doing with a family, and activities they enjoy doing with friends, like playing board games, having family game nights, having family movie nights, and kind of implement those things to kind of help them with that motivation to get the task done. Provide them with positive feedback. It's really important to provide that feedback on positive behaviors and kind of their effort towards things. So I really enjoy watching you work on that problem instead of you did really well on that math test, because one is going to show them that the effort that they're putting into it is what you're praising, instead of the end result, because the end result could change. It could be that maybe one time they don't do really well on that, and then they're going to be really disappointed. Some other strategies are to encourage accountability. So whenever you can, kind of putting it back on the student. If there's something going on, if they're having a hard time with kind of like problem solving something, kind of put it back on them of what do you think we should do? Simon says red light, green light, and board games are really good ways to kind of work on these response inhibition skills.
So a little response inhibition practice for parents. So really being able to get into, the mindset of our students when they may be reacting in a way that we're not exactly sure why. So I want you to think about how you might respond when you are offended, or maybe even when someone has a different political view than you. If your spouse does not meet your expectations, if you're hungry, tired, not feeling well, didn't sleep well. How do we as adults often respond to things that maybe don't necessarily go our way? And this can be related to our students and in situations that are applicable to them. So that's a good way to just think about why your child or your student may be responding the way they do.
Emotional control. What is it? The ability to manage emotions in order to achieve goals, complete tasks, or control and direct behavior.
Okay, so what does it look like? When a student is in control or in emotional control, they have the ability to bounce back from frustration or disappointment quickly, whether it may be social related or related to their academics. They have the ability to express their feelings in tools. So I know at the elementary level, one of the most important skills that we are really encouraging students is to be able to express themselves appropriately. And that's going to make them more comfortable. If they're feeling frustrated, if they're feeling upset, if they're feeling hurt, they are absolutely encouraged to voice that, and that feeling should be validated. Again, and then we would work on coping tools to get past that. And again, really kind of move beyond a situation that may be, possibly triggering some negative emotions. When a student is out of emotional control, we may see verbal or physical outbursts, avoidance or withdrawal and shutting down. At home, we may see difficulty sleeping and difficulty focusing across the school day.
Some emotional control strategies include creating a way to gauge intensity of feelings. So this could be a scale, it could be a thermometer, and it could be something that you do with your child that is like a fun craft activity for them, kind of drawing out a thermometer, letting them color the different levels, and kind of talking about kind of how we feel at the different levels and giving them, an emotion attached to each level. Create a calm down area equipped with tools. It is really important to kind of normalize calming down. So if you have a calm down area in your home, it should be like a family calm down area. They can see you kind of using the area when you're frustrated, so they can kind of see how you're handling and coping with your big feelings. That way they're more likely to also use that area to kind of cope and calm themselves down. And in the area, it could be a journal for them to journal how they're feeling. Glitter jars are really good. Students really love those, where you kind of put glitter and glue into a jar, shake it up. We at school tell them all the time that when our feelings are kind of all over our bodies inside, because we haven't gotten them out, it's kind of the same way when we shake the jar up. All of the glitter is all over the place, just like our feelings inside of our body. And as we calm down, the glitter in the jar calms down. Strategy choice board. So kind of giving them a choice of different strategies, like creating like almost like a bingo board of different strategies for them and letting them choose which one they want to use when they're having a hard time. Help children develop feeling language. So In school, we teach them about I messages. I feel frustrated because, I feel sad because. This is a great way to get them kind of started expressing themselves in appropriate ways, those feelings, so that you can kind of help them work through them. If you're unaware of what they're feeling, it's going to be very difficult for you to help them through it. And a lot of times they might present in one way, but there might be another feeling happening. So they might present frustrated, but they really might be nervous. Read stories on emotional control with children. Books are also a great way to kind of tap into some of those feelings that they might be having. A lot of times when we talk to students directly about things, they kind of shut down because they feel attacked. So reading stories to them and kind of talking about certain behaviors or certain feelings through characters is a great way to kind of get them engaged and get them talking. Problem solve with the child, not for the child. So together to create a plan for what they can do when big feelings come up, because you want them to get into the habit of being able to problem solve even when you're not there. So when they're at school, when they're out at play dates, you want them to have the skills to be able to say, I'm not feeling well right now. This is what I need to help myself. So you want them to problem solve with you. And then practice mindfulness. This could be breathing. This could be muscle relaxation. This could be using aromatherapy at home. There's so many different avenues you could take for mindfulness.
So we're going to give you guys an example of a mindfulness activity that can be done with both you and your student, or even your student can use this tool on their own as well. So this video is going to go through some breathing techniques and really encourage muscle relaxation. It is a little bit lengthier, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you will have access to it as this is being recorded. So I'll go ahead and I'll play some of it. That way you can understand how it will promote some mindfulness.
Do you ever notice how the muscles in different parts of your body can feel sore? This is not just from running or playing. Sometimes when we feel sad, angry, or worried, our muscles feel the same way. The cool thing is, by relaxing our body, we can also relax our feelings. Today we're going to do a muscle relaxation exercise. This is all about making our muscles really, really tight and then relaxing them. It's easy. Just listen to my voice and follow along. This relaxation works best if you lie down. You can close your eyes. Now take a deep breath in through your nose. Breathe out through your mouth like you're blowing through a straw. Breathe in again through your nose. Breathe out again through your mouth. Keep breathing like this as we begin. Focus on your face. Squeeze your eyes shut, press your lips together, scrunch your eyebrows in, and wrinkle your nose. Imagine your face getting smaller and smaller and tighter until it's a tiny point in the middle of your head. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Now relax.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop it there, but you can see it really gives very specific, explicit examples with students on how they can go ahead and relax their bodies. So I do think that's a great tool to use at home if needed.
So some games to improve executive functioning skills at home. In school, when I meet with students, I love playing games with them because I feel like it's a great way to kind of teach them the things that I need to teach them, but a fun way for them to kind of stay engaged. So one of the games that I play sometimes with students to kind of help them with their focus and attention is Spot It. It's a really great game for focusing and paying attention because they have to kind of guess what the match is on the cards before the other person does. So it kind of really kind of helps them with that focus, that attention, and kind of the response inhibition of having to wait their turn and not shout out. Charades is another one. This is good for, again, response inhibition, planning, organization. If you're the one that is having to kind of go up and kind of act in a certain way for other people to guess, you have to kind of plan and organize what you're going to say, not what you're going to say, but what you're going to do to get everybody to kind of guess what you are. And the response inhibition is you can't shout out. So you have to kind of make sure that you're waiting your turn. And then with Jenga, again, the response inhibition and planning. So you have to plan which blocks you're going to pull out so you're not making the tower fall, so you're not losing. And you have to kind of, again, be very careful, waiting your turn. So again, with the response inhibition.
With red light, green light, it definitely encourages students to stay on their toes, specifically paying attention to when the one in charge is calling the announcement. Also, response inhibition, so really behaving appropriately, following the rules. With Uno and Scrabble, because these are more board game oriented, the planning and organization is really going to come into play, in addition to response inhibition, taking turns, and again, following those rules.
And it's important to note that with all of those games that we mentioned, emotional control also plays a role, because you want to make sure that if the child loses, they're handling their emotions in the correct way. They might need those coping strategies if they don't win, or if someone kind of beats them at that level before they start again.
Some additional activities to improve executive functions. So again, things that you can do at home, baking or cooking, those skills that are needed for this, planning and organization, following a procedure, and again, response inhibition, behaving appropriately, especially with different types of kitchen tools and things like that. Puzzles, again, planning and organizing. How are we going to break this down? How are we going to put it back together?
With storytelling, one of the things that we kind of do with students sometimes is have them kind of create stories with each other. So at home, it could be maybe you start a story, they finish it for you. So they have to kind of, with the response inhibition, wait their turn. With planning and attention, they have to be paying attention to what you're saying in order to complete the story. They have to plan out what they're going to say. And then with the mindfulness, emotional control, response inhibition, attention, focus, clearing our brains.
Okay, so at this point, I am going to stop recording.